What's going on, YouTube? Ferocity here. I hope you guys are doing well. I know we've been talking a lot about MW3 here on this channel, and reason's very simple. We've got a new game on the horizon, and there's some excitement in the air when it comes to the Call of Duty community. But for today's video, I want to shift focus back to Modern Warfare 2. And I want to talk about why I feel that this game became such a polarizing title for the Call of Duty community and for the legacy of this franchise. And it starts way back in September of 2022. Now, the reason why I want to bring us back to that before the game even released was because there was rumors floating around that Modern Warfare 2 was going to be a 2-year game. And for a lot of people within this community, it came to us as a surprise. It came to us as a welcome surprise. We wanted that. And I feel as if the community was robbed of that. Now, we know that this rumor was just that, a rumor. There was no legitimacy to it. There was no confirmation to it. So we kind of rode off that momentum for a little bit, and we believed as if Modern Warfare 2 was going to be a 2-year game. Then we got to play the beta. And honestly, the beta was decent. It wasn't anything fantastic, it wasn't anything different, but it was more of the same. More of what to expect from modern day Infinity Ward. It was better than Modern Warfare 2019 and better than Call of Duty Vanguard. And that's all we're really asking for. I still feel as if it's number 2 behind Black Ops Cold War when it comes to the last 4 Call of Duties, but that's just me. I'm not a big fan of the tactical sprint aspect. I'm not a big fan of the current Modern Warfare engine. But again, that's my personal preference. Either way, when we came out of that beta, the community had some pretty consensus criticism for Infinity Ward. We wanted red dots to return to the minimap. We wanted dead sounds to be a perk instead of a tactical upgrade. We wanted the perk system to make a little bit more sense. We wanted smaller maps. We wanted a better UI. We wanted some little fixes here and there to some of the guns and some of the attachments. But outside of that, it was all changes that could easily be made. I don't think there were any major concerns coming out of the beta. And as long as Infinity Ward listened to the community and the consensus that we had drawn, the game was going to succeed. So I think people were pretty confident that Infinity Ward was going to take that criticism in stride, make the adjustments they needed to make, and release a pretty solid game. And that's why I believe that so many people bought it. They were ready for a new era of Call of Duty to begin. They were ready for a 2-year life cycle game, even though it was never confirmed. They were ready for all of the changes that they brought forth to be made, and they were excited for Modern Warfare 2 to potentially be remastered as part of this game. Get to play the old maps from the 2009 game, and I think a lot of people in this community were pretty jazzed about it. Now, unfortunately, what we came to find out as the game moved along its life cycle early on was that they didn't make any of those changes. The UI still sucked. And on top of that, they released Warzone 2, which changed a bunch of things that people didn't ask them to change, which further polarized the community. You had people that were non-believers from the start, and then you had people that were all in. And when you go all in on something, it's very hard to reverse course, and that makes you almost more polarized because you're like, well, I'm already in this deep, might as well keep going. And that type of mentality, that type of polarization between the two sides caused a lot of infighting, caused a lot of people to get very upset when it came to Modern Warfare 2. If you were caught praising it, you were a shill. If you were caught demeaning it, you were just some angry fanboy. And you can never get anything constructive done. And that was what was so disappointing, is there were clear flaws to MW2 during the entirety of its life cycle. Clear flaws that if Infinity Ward had addressed them, they would have been able to actually retain a larger player base. But instead of addressing them, instead of enhancing their game, they decided to continue to be stubborn, not make the necessary changes, continue to release lackluster season after lackluster season, continuously release really bad cosmetics and cosmetics that just ruin the immersion of Call of Duty, go against their own realistic identity that they're trying to push with the Modern Warfare franchise. And it was just a weird year. Then you've got all their monetization streams. They've got the Battle Pass. They have all their overpriced bundles. And then they released a premium Battle Pass as well. And it was just a lot for very little. It felt as if they were trying to soak every cent out of this community without reinvesting any of it back into their game. We're getting very little content each new season. We weren't getting any of the changes addressed, and then it was just sort of a game that was there to make money off of whoever was left. It wasn't there to try to grow the community. It wasn't there to try to retain the community. It was just seeing who would be left behind once the dust settled. And then you couple all of that with the fact that they went through controversy after controversy, whether it was SM2 or X Labs or shutting down the guys who recreated maps in Fortnite. And it was just a disaster for Activision and Infinity Ward. Not only was Infinity Ward stubborn, you had Activision that was being extremely greedy, and you had a game that desperately needed help, growth, and evolution, and none of that happened. And it still hasn't happened. Yes, the game finally has some maps that are okay. Yes, the game finally has enough maps to satisfy a full $70 premium release, but at no point did it feel like the game grew over time. If you hopped in today and compared it to yesterday, or at the start of the year, pardon me, you wouldn't notice a massive difference. It's not like Call of Duty World War II, which gets a lot of flack in this community, but that game evolved over time. It corrected a lot of its mistakes, and it became better the longer you waited. Same thing goes with Black Ops Cold War. The game evolved over time. I can't say the same for MW2. It didn't correct the mistakes that it had. You still don't have names appearing over people's heads like you've had in every single other Call of Duty. Same with red dots on the minimap. Same with dead silence not being a perk. The same criticisms we had for so long. And then you also have the worst UI we've ever seen in Call of Duty history. And it's just been a bad year for Call of Duty. And it could have been so much better. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that if Infinity Ward tucked their tail between their legs, they made the changes they needed to make, they worked with the community instead of against the community, we could have had a really strong game. It might not necessarily have been the best game in the Call of Duty franchise. It might not even have been as good as some of your favorites, but it could have at least been better than what we got. It could have retained some players. It could have grown over its life cycle, but instead, it consistently diminished in player base and player count throughout the entirety of the game's life cycle, and it further polarized this community. And I'm seeing that polarization right now as we talk about MW3. You have people that just won't even give MW3 a chance, and then you have the people that are buying it no matter what. And it just seems as if we didn't need to be in this situation. If Modern Warfare 2 had just been a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more community-driven, I think the Call of Duty community as a whole would be in such a stronger spot. We'd be much happier. You'd have a consistent community feel. And I think it would just be overall a better place for everyone. But unfortunately, that's not the situation. It'll be a game that's remembered for its lack of developer intervention, its lack of developer input, its lack of community involvement. And that's not a place where you want to be if you're Call of Duty. I think for Call of Duty to grow, for it to be as big as it can be, it needs to incorporate its community as much as possible. It needs to listen to its community. I get that the community is going to nitpick things, but I'm going to be honest with you. The criticisms that the community came to at the end of the beta wasn't one-off nitpicking. It was a consensus of thousands of players, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, that all agreed that if you want that classic Call of Duty feel to come back, these are the changes you need to make. It's as simple as that, and I'm not really sure as to why they decided to go against the grain with that. I'm not sure why they decided that it was in their best interests to go against their community. But that's an answer we'll never be able to get. All we can hope for is maybe they've learned a few lessons along the way, and that the next title that Infinity Ward releases in 2 years' time will be far superior to what we got with MW2. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts of MW2 as to why it was such a polarizing Call of Duty. Why is it that people love it or hate it? I want to hear it down below in that comment section. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.